All right, you guys, welcome to our Body Electric weekly webinar. We are well into January of 2020, which is kind of crazy to say out loud. I've already written like 3 checks this year and written 2019. So, you know, we're still there. But I wanted to lead tonight's call tonight specifically about personal sales. In other words, sort of the beginning and the foundation of our business as network marketers. I don't really have very many announcements to share with you. The only thing that I will say up front is that if you have not already gotten onto a Team Cup team, please start making plans for that. We still have a couple weeks left to register, but hopefully you're making arrangements for a Team Cup team for February. I know that if you're in the Beachbody Champions page, you probably have seen where they've posted like tons of information, tons of videos trying to get everybody to participate in Team Cup. And it goes without saying that Team Cup is most definitely something that has propelled my business in the past. It's a great way to really push for not just Success Club, but beyond Success Club. Really set your goals higher, work with a group of people, keep yourself accountable, and sometimes even surprise yourself. So make sure you're working on that if you're not already. Otherwise, I will be posting the weekly announcements now going forward on Mondays. So we'll have our team call on Sunday nights, and then the weekly announcements will be posted on Mondays, which will sort of recap any announcements that I shared or share any new ones. But otherwise, does anybody have any questions at all? I think I mentioned last week that we are planning on Saturday, April 18th for our next live event. I'm solidifying plans for that. It is most likely going to be downtown. So for those of you guys who are not on the north side, it'll be more of a central location. So I should have the details for that hopefully in the next couple weeks, and I can share that when I have it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I do have a PowerPoint just to make sure I stay on track. But yeah, so what I wanted to do was really just talk specifically. It's funny because what I like to do before every team call is I'd like to really evaluate sort of where we are, okay? And I really think about like, who are the people that tune into team calls, right? Like, who are the people that I see consistently on the calls, doing the work, working their business, and what are they struggling with right now? And so this weekend, as I was thinking about what to cover, I kept coming back to 2 different things. One of them was branding, right? Like really working on your brand, which is something that we obviously talked about at our live event last weekend. And that is something that I do want to come back to. I want to do the personal brand workshop with the team. I feel like I kind of got cut short a little bit on time at the live event. So I'd like to take a little bit more time, maybe on a team call, and dive a little deeper into branding. But the other piece of it really is, you know, we can talk about recruiting coaches to your team. We can talk about rank advancement. We can talk about building relationships. We can talk about, I mean, there's a bazillion topics we could cover. But at the end of the day, the foundation of everything in this business comes down to what you're doing to lead yourself, right? Not just personal development, but what kind of real productivity and real results are you seeing in your business? Because once you start to see results in the sales department, like once you start really helping people, bringing in new customers, it makes everything else a lot easier. It makes acquiring coaches a lot easier, right? It helps build your brand. It helps build your credibility and your trust. So everything sort of rises and falls on your personal sales when it comes to network marketing. So that's why I think it's cool that for Beachbody, we have what's called obviously Success Club, or for our team, if you're shooting for helping 5 or helping 10 people per month, it's just a benchmark for you to follow. It's something for you to shoot for that you should make a non-negotiable in your business. I'm sure that other network marketing companies have different versions of that, right? I'm sure Sensi has like a certain thing that they shoot for every month. I'm sure that Roden and Fields has something similar as well. So this for Beachbody, it's nice because we give you a guideline. We say, okay, if you want to trend toward success, if you want to trend toward becoming a Star Diamond coach, then you're going to help at least 3, if not 5 people per month with a challenge pack, or you're going to help at least 5 to 10 people get started with something every single month. And so the first thing that I'll just tell you is I remember for the first probably 2 years of my coaching business, I did not really take this super seriously. Like I would occasionally hit Success Club. Some months I would even have, upwards of 20 Success Club points. And then there were some months I would go 3, 4, 5 months in a row without any Success Club points. And it was really inconsistent for me. And I remember Christine Dwyer, which is sort of my grandma in the business, probably a lot of you, your great grandma. I remember being in a boot camp with her where she said, really, it's just a decision. You make the decision that you're going to make it happen and you don't go back. And you work as hard as you need to work in order to make that thing happen. And so for me, Christine calls it a no matter what. And she doesn't call it a goal. It's just a no matter what. No matter what, I'm helping 3 people per month, right? So before we even start this, I want to just start off by saying, like, this is not me putting pressure on you to sell a certain quota of things or whatever. This is just me telling you, based on what the metrics Beachbody has pulled, if you're looking for success in the business, financially, rank, associated, etc., this is something that you should consider to be a non-negotiable in your business. You really can't think a whole lot about building your team or creating systems for your team or whatever until you master your personal sales. Okay, so what I wanted to do tonight is just keep it really simple and dive into sort of just my top tips for making this a consistent effort for you and your business. So like I said, in this business, everything starts with your personal sales. It's hard to lead a team if you're not producing sales, right? If you have, let's say that you recruit a coach into your business and right off the bat, they hit Success Club 5 or Success Club 10 and they're like rocking and rolling and you're not hitting it, right? You're not setting the bar, you're not setting the expectation, you're not setting the standard for them, and you're not keeping your lid higher than your team. So it's easy for me to sit here and be like, Success Club's non-negotiable. For me, it's been a non-negotiable for literally years. But whenever there's somebody on the Success Club board for our team that's at like Success Club 10 and I'm at Success Club 6, you better believe that I'm pushing as hard as I possibly can to meet them and exceed them because I'm the leader of the team, right? I want to keep my benchmark higher than everybody else's. So it's hard to lead a team if you're not keeping up with your personal sales. It's hard to advance rank, right? We've talked a million times about how this business really does thrive on momentum. And we create momentum by bringing in a handful of people every month. If we bring in one new person a month or one or 2 people every other month, we never gain the momentum that we need to really propel us forward, right? So we're looking to bring in 3 to 5 customers a month, which will allow us to have a better sort of pool of people to be recruiting into the business. It will fill our challenge groups, which will give our challenge groups energy, and it'll create momentum for us as a leader. Okay, so that's just sort of a foundational point there. Okay, so regardless of what your goal is, whether it's Success Club or if it's Help 5 or Help 10, regardless, we're talking about sales, right? Like, I wish that you got bonus points for selling people like free things, but we don't. So we have to, at the end of the day, we're looking to really start people with something, start them on a product or start them with a challenge pack. And as you guys know, our income and our rank and everything in the business is a direct reflection of the lives that we're changing, right? Like in the very beginning, when I was just sharing my personal journey and had an occasional sale, I didn't really even get to witness the ripple effect that could happen. I just was little old me doing my thing, like, being a product of the product and talking about it on my social. But until I started to really commit to the sales goal, that created the momentum. The momentum then created me getting to see people really change their lives, really get to see people joining the team and creating the ripple effect of having coaches that are also paying this forward. So I'm going to break this down. I think I have 5 tips, maybe 6, I don't remember, for what I would advise. I think I'm beyond 90 months in a row of Success Club. So I think 80 some of those are Success Club 10. So this is an area of strength for me. So I feel like hopefully you can take my advice. But I'm going to just dive right in. So tip number 1, I want you to break your sales goal down into weekly bite-sized goals. So what is it for you? We talked about this a little bit last week on our vision call. Are you shooting for Success Club or are you going to go the route of Help 5 or Help 10? Doesn't matter to me. Either way is going to lead you to success, but pick one. Pick one. I know some people are like, I'm picking both, right? I want to hit Success Club and Help 5. Okay, perfect. So whatever it is for you, decide what your goal is and then say, okay, let's break it down. How many people is that then per week? So I give you an example. If you want to help 5 people a month with a challenge pack, if your goal is Success Club 10, that means you need to be selling at least 1 challenge pack per week, helping 1 person per week. For me, it makes it a lot more manageable. If I know that's my goal, then I structure my week and my calendar around what it's going to take to get one person on board this week, right? And then the next week, it's the same thing. Now, there are some times where we have like a flash sale, or I will post a call to action and I'll get a couple people on board at a time, right? Perfect. Then I'm sort of ahead of my goal. But for a consistent rule of thumb, shooting to help one person a week, or two, whatever your goal is, 2 people a week, or whatever the case is, when you break it down to a weekly goal, is much more manageable. And you can then structure your calendar and your social media and everything toward acquiring that 1 or 2 or 3 customers per week, whatever your goal is. My second tip for you is to just, you guys are like, oh, not again, she's going to say it again. Commit to email marketing. Commit to it. And I don't just mean, okay, yeah, I have a MailChimp account, or I send a newsletter occasionally. Like, I mean, really commit to and I should have written, commit to an email marketing strategy. And I mean, every single month, follow that strategy. You guys have heard me say before that I know that my email marketing is going to bring in at least 1 customer a month with the challenge pack. I know that for sure, because I'm consistent enough with it, and I have a broad enough reach now. I've grown my email list. I know that I'm going to end up with at least 1 person purchasing and probably a few people interested. So I want you to commit to your email marketing. I wanted to show you sort of how I break down. So we already have the sales goal, right? We already know how many people we're shooting for in a month, how many people we're shooting for in a week. So what I do is, on the first of the month, I send out a newsletter no matter what. So within the first 2 to 3 days of the month, an email newsletter goes out, and you guys have probably seen it, so I don't need to tell you, but it's got like some recipes in there, some motivation. I have a call to action invitation to my challenge group. If there's a new program that releases, like BAR or 6 weeks of the work or whatever, I will include a little bit of information about the new program. That goes out at the first of the month. As you guys know, people usually have to see something multiple times in order to act on it. So then I start plugging in my social media, which we'll talk about in a minute, right? Like, not only does my newsletter go out, but now I know I'm also talking about my challenge group on my social media at the first of the month. So let's say that I get to like the 12th, 13th, 14th of January, and I'm at Success Club 0, right? I've been posting about my challenge group. I sent out my newsletter, but I'm not getting any bites. I'm not getting very much traction. My conversations are dying out. If that happens, that's going to change my plan and my strategy for the content that goes out in the middle of the month. Does that make sense? So if I was at Success Club 10 by the 12th, my email blast in the middle of the month might be free value, recipes to share, an article to link to, whatever. But if I'm struggling and I haven't hit that sales goal, my mid-month email blast is going to be a sort of a call to action, looking for 1 more person to join my group. Click here to watch a video, click here if you're interested. There's going to be some tangible things. I'm really sort of like not desperately reaching out for them, but I'm really pushing a sense of urgency mid-month because I want to hit that goal. Same thing goes for the end of month. Where am I with my goals? Have I hit my goal of Success Club 10? Have I not? Do I need to throw in there another, last call type of message? Do I need to plant a seed about joining my team? Like, what could I do to make that happen? If not, like I said, if I've hit my goal by then I might start planting seeds about the next month's group, right? Or I might start giving out free value at the end of the month. So is that making sense? Like, as far as how I structure my content? Okay. So that's the cool thing about email marketing. For me, honestly, my email marketing keeps me on track in my social content, because I know at any given phase of the month where I am with my goals and what my messaging is in correlation to that through my email marketing. And then guess what? That feeds into how I talk to people on my social media too, right? So it all feeds in together. So my email marketing really kind of keeps me in line, I guess. It keeps me sort of on some sort of structure and strategy. Tip number 3, I want you to do the same. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Question. When I was in computer world and stuff like that, our key day of sending emails was Thursday. Is that still a genuine trend or general trend, or is there a better day to send it?
It's different for everybody. Shalene advises Tuesdays. I don't know if there's any set day. I try to mine are typically just within the first 3 days of the month. I don't necessarily plan on a set day. I have found, because you can look when you use something like MailChimp, you can look at your metrics. Like once you start sending them, you can look and see like when did people open these? When did I have the most traction? How many people opened them? How many times did they open them? So for me, the 7 a.m. time frame tends to be a good one. And I've actually recently had some pretty good luck with really late night ones. So like 10 or 11 p.m., which if you think about it, right? People are probably sitting on their phone at 10 o'clock at night or maybe in the morning. When I used to send blasts out at like 5 and 6 a.m., I used to think in my head, like, let me send these out really early so that they're in their inbox when they wake up. But I think what happens is everybody that they've ever subscribed to, like White House Black Market and Express and Kohl's, all of that is in their email at the same time. So they're more likely to delete it. Whereas if I send it a little later in the morning or if I send it late at night, they're not getting as many emails that time of day. So you'll have to just play with it and look at your metrics to see when people are opening your stuff. That's the beauty in having a way to track that. But yeah. So I want you to do the same thing with your social media, like I just said, right? Like the first part of your month is going to be calls to action, introducing whatever it is your next challenge group theme might be, or when it's starting. And then middle of the month to end of the month, that content might change based on your goals. Tip number 4, and this is funny because I just talked to Chris about this today. I was like he's like, what are you working on in there? And I told him, and he's like, how many of your coaches do you think are doing that? And I was like, I don't know, but we'll find out. We're going to talk about it tonight. So I want you guys to use your reports in your Coach Online office, especially as your business grows. So I know that there are coaches that are going to listen to this call and that are on this call who you have a considerable customer base, right? And that will happen as you keep consistently hitting your sales goals and as you're in this business for a while. So every single month, what I do is I go into my Coach Online office. I think we've done this on a couple of power hours, and I will run reports to see who really are my top customers. Like who are people who have ordered from me before, who I might need to circle back to. So the first report that I like to run is I like to just go into my subscriptions, like my customer subscriptions, and I look at Shakeology subscriptions. Today I just did this. I had 7 clients who were on Shakeology who had ordered at least 4 cycles. Some of them I've talked to before about coaching, but I reached back out to them again today, and I'm like, you might as well become a coach, right? Like you're paying full price for your product. I also pulled a report for BOD subscribers to see if anybody was coming up for a BOD renewal sometime in January, February, or early March, to see if they might instead be interested in like a bar blend challenge pack or something that we have on promo right now. Same thing goes for maybe any Daily Sunshine people or Performance Line subscribers. You can pull different reports based on your subscribers, and it's really helpful to be able to see like, okay, is this person ready to potentially upgrade to coach? Is this person, due for a new challenge pack and a BOD renewal? So those types of reports are helpful for you to keep those relationships going with the people who are ordering from you consistently. I had a lady who I had met her like at a Christmas, this is so weird. It was like a Christmas company party several years ago. She's still my Facebook friend. She comments on a lot of my stuff. We've talked, I would say she's probably like my mom's age, like 60, 70. And I knew that she loved like our seasonal flavors. I knew that she loved the beach bars, but I looked in there today. She had 3 Shakeology orders shipped between December and January. And I was like, so I reached out to her and I was like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, my sons love it now. So she's like, so now I'm ordering it for my sons. And now I've got beach bars. And I'm like, what? But had I never pulled that report, I may not have ever known that specifically. And when I reached out to her, it was the right time because she was like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and upgrade so I can save some money on this. So use your reports for that. For those of you who are new to the business, right? Once you're Emerald, once you're hitting Success Club and you're getting those customer leads, reaching out to your customer leads, seeing what their orders are, if you have access to that, depending on the person. can help you potentially reach out. I reached out to a girl today. She's a customer lead. I sent her an email. I'm like, hey, I saw where you've been ordering Performance Stack several times in the last year. I just wanted to reach out and see if I might be able to help you, or if you might be interested in hopping into my virtual gym. And so we'll see if I hear back from her. But that's a really cool way to sort of just manage the people that you have. I said this last week at the Alive event, but really it's true for me too. Like 80% of your sales come from 20% of your people. So I have recurring customers, right? Every year they renew their bod, they get a new challenge pack. I have people who are consistently ordering or reordering Shakeology. Those are people that if we keep in touch with them, sometimes they're just easy points for us. Okay, tip number 5, everything rises and falls on your conversations. So this is not new news, but if you are only posting challenge group invitations and calls to action on your social, and you're not having real conversations, like real direct messenger conversations or text conversations, you will never hit your sales goals. When I sit down to work, or when I tell Chris, hey, I just need a few minutes here to do some work, I am in my messenger. I'm in my Facebook Messenger DMing people. That is where 90% of my work lies. So if right now most of your work is on making a post or on, putting together email content, you're missing a little bit of the gist, right? Those things are still important. You should still be making posts. You should still be sending an email blast. But the conversations is where the magic happens, because that's how you build relationships with people. So whatever your expectations are of your coaches when it comes to sales, right? We said this in the beginning, this is what you should be doing yourself. So if you're saying to yourself, like, gosh, I really want to become a diamond coach, but I can't get, none of my coaches that I currently have are interested in working the business, right? Okay, well, most likely you need more people, which is created by momentum, which is created by bringing in more customers so that you have more people to recruit. But also it's a matter of setting the standard, right? Like, do they see you working your business? Do they see you and what you're doing every month? Are they seeing you be recognized, right, in the team page for your personal sales? Like, are you leading by example? So I want you to think about not just where you are right now in your business, but where you want to go. If you're wanting to become a diamond or a star diamond coach, if you're wanting to earn at least, I don't know, $30,000 a year or something to benefit your family's income, then this is something you should be thinking about. What does that look like? If that's something that I want to pursue, then how hard do I need to be working? What types of sales goals do I need to be hitting so that when I bring people on board, that's part of the culture, right? That's part of the culture of what we do and how I lead. So quick overview. I knew that we might get a question or two about handling objections, and that's something that I can break into a whole other training at some point. But just to touch on it, I wanted to say that I love objections because I feel like they tell you where you can improve. Early on in my business, I got nothing but rejections. Like, I used to, when I was working my corporate job, I would take people to lunch. Like, I was doing all the traditional like sales methods, right, for this business. Chris had actually worked at a financial company for a couple of years, and they were all about traditional sales. So they did all kinds of cold calls, and they did networking events, and they took people to coffee. So when I started as a coach, that was all I had ever really been exposed to when it came to sales. So I tried to do the same thing, right? I tried to like sit down and talk to people. I brought in Shakeology to my workplace. I brought in a blender. I tried to blend it for people and make samples. I tried to have a fit club at my place. I tried to have a fit club at my church. I tried to do a million things in the beginning, and I got a bazillion no's before I got my first yes. And I got a bazillion more no's before I got people asking about coaching, right? So some of it is just staying the course and staying the journey with this. You guys know Charlie mentioned last weekend the book Rejection Proof. I've been listening to that on Audible. It's a great listen if you haven't heard that already. It's a story of a guy that literally just goes out door to door seeking rejection. Just to sort of toughen his skin and see what it's like. So I encourage you that if you're getting objections left and right, know that you're still in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. But it takes you being willing to look at those objections and say, That's funny. There's a trend, right? This is what the last 3 people have told me. Or I'm starting to see that people really have a question about XYZ. Once you start to see those themes, that then becomes your social media content or your email marketing content, right? Those types of things, those types of topics, you can really elaborate more on through your brand. So if someone says that they can't pay for, like, I can't pay for Shakeology, it's too expensive, right? That means, of course, that they haven't seen the value in Shakeology yet. So my first tip to you would be, maybe, and I've learned this the hard way myself. When you have a conversation with somebody and they ask you about the cost of Shakeology, do you tell them right away? Or do you respond to them and ask them questions about their goals to see if it's the right fit for them? Do you ask them about their nutrition and their fitness? Are you asking questions, or are you giving them the information that they've quote unquote asked for right off the bat? That's something that's a learning curve, right? Like, you'll learn very soon on that usually receives a lot of objections because you haven't identified the value yet in the product. And so therefore, when you say $130 or $160, people are like, no way, no way. I was interested till you said that. So learn as you go. Like, look back at a conversation and say, where could I have done this? What could I have done differently? Where could I have shared more value? Your conversations are going to be the best way for you to know how you can improve those conversations. Okay. So same thing for objections about time, right? Like, perhaps then you need to be showing them how you fit your workout into your schedule or your customers, or show them behind the scenes glimpses at what your challenge group looks like and the check-ins in your challenge group, to show them that there's other moms doing this, or there's other people who are busy doing this, right? So take whatever objections you're getting and flip it, right? Turn it into your social media content so that you are proactively sort of rebuttal. What am I trying to say? You're objecting the objection up front proactively. English major, and I still can't come up with the word. Okay. So you guys have heard this, but use the feel, felt, found method. So I know how you feel. If someone says, oh man, I don't know if I can afford that, I need to talk to my husband. I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But what I found is I just tell my husband that I earn an income too. And so I'm going to pay for my own shakes. That's what I normally say. But whatever it is for you, like, using that feel, felt, found method sometimes works for people because they realize, like, look, you're not just like floating in the dough either necessarily, right? You just are making it a priority for yourself. So don't be afraid to not back down. I feel like too many people back down from an objection. And I think sometimes it's really a matter of saying back to the person, like, well, how badly do you want the goal? You just told me you want to come off your blood pressure medication. This was my experience, and I'm just going to be here to push you and be the coach that you need. And then essentially, if you can't, we're not in the convincing business. So our job is not to persuade somebody. Our job is to equip them with the tools. And so if at any point you feel like you're in persuasion mode, just say, self, stop, on to the next one. So if you're coming up short with your monthly sales goals, it means this: not enough people trust you enough to buy from you. And I'm not saying that to be harsh. I just want you to know, because I know for me, if someone were to say this to me, I would be like, oh, okay, relieved that I have an answer, right? If you're coming up short with your monthly sales goals, it means not enough people trust you enough to buy the product. So then we have to ask the question, how can I build trust? And that leads me to sort of what I started with, which is talking more about building our brand on social media, letting people sort of behind the scenes of who we really are, right? Letting them, I think I've said this before on previous calls, like, sometimes our job really is to let people or to show people how to really fall in love with us. I have people all the time that message me about how I have the sweetest, cutest family, and people message me wanting to know about Rudy if I don't post about him in my stories frequently enough. Like, people are invested in my life because I show them those pieces of my life and it becomes part of my brand. That's how trust is built. So we build trust by our brand, by having more conversations, and by constantly getting better at those conversations, evaluating where we could have gone wrong and where we could have gone differently, attacking those objections before they happen, like we just talked about. And of course, getting to know more people, expanding our network, joining more Facebook groups, or attending an event locally where we can meet more people, right? Those things help as well. So I wanted to give you guys some book recommendations on this because I always like to do that. But you guys have heard Go for No, and Rejection Proof is a book that Charlie mentioned last weekend. Like I said, I've been listening to it. It's really good. But I really like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's sort of one of the, I would say, probably top 10 personal development books of all time. It's right up there with Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. It's up there with John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? So it's in that sort of wheelhouse of old school PD. So with that comes the fact that it's not super modern. So it's not going to be, it might be a little bit more of a denser read, if denser is a word. But How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is a classic. The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, he teaches you to really like 10X your efforts, 10X your goals. His podcast is super intimidating, so I wouldn't necessarily listen to listen to that. I listened to one of them and I was like, holy cow. But his book is pretty exceptional. So 10X Rule is awesome by Grant Cardone. If these are areas of weakness for you, these are the books I would recommend. So that's all I had. I will take any questions that you guys might have. But I wanted to make sure that we touched on this because I feel like, we can have one-on-one calls for days. We could take a look at your downlines and your sponsorship drill downs, and we could strategize and we could do all these things. But at the end of the day, the consistent effort and the consistent results in your personal sales is what's going to build the foundation for your business. So that really is step one. So any questions from anyone? I couldn't see your faces when I had the screen on there. So I don't know if maybe you hate me or I don't know what you're thinking right now. Does this all make sense? Did you find something helpful here? Okay. If nothing else, I mean, especially on par with last week's call, talking about vision and using our planners, you really truly can plan for your goals and make them happen. Like, I know that was such a foreign concept for me, like years ago, when people were just like, just decide, just decide you're going to hit Success Club. And I was like, what? Like, how do you decide? Like, I still have to know people and I still have to have people say yes. And I still have to, it didn't make any sense to me. And finally I think it was Melanie Mitro was talking on a call, and she talked about how she structured her calendar around her goals and her social media around her goals, which, by the way, she does have a pretty awesome social media calendar planner out called, I think it's called what's it called, Nicole? Chic planner or chic influencer planner?
Chic influencer.
Chic influencer, yeah. So if you're looking for some guidance with your social media and stuff like that, but in the end, we can strategize these things. We truly can. It's not a matter of saying like, kind of like with our goals last week, right? Like we talked about how we can say, my goal, I have it right here. My goal might be, hang on, I have the wrong sheet. My goal might be, I want to lose weight, but the SMART goal version of that is I'm committed to completing 80-day obsession, right? Like this is what I can control. So I think sometimes we say, okay, I'm going to help one person a week, or I'm going to help 5 people this month, but we don't know what that really looks like. And it's different for everybody, right? Like for me, I might have to have 10 conversations before I have one of those pan out into a challenge pack sale. Right? And so now I know that. Like now I know this is how many conversations I have to be having at a time in order to make sure my goal, and when the well starts to run dry, like I can sense it now. there was, I think, November or December. It was like the 20th of the month, and I was at Success Club Zero, and I told Chris, I was like, this is my fault. I was like, I literally am just like, I've let the well go dry. I'm not having enough conversations. I could sense it because I've been such a creature of this strategy habit for so long now that when I started to get behind in my conversations and even in my brand, when I wasn't posting as often, I started to feel it. I started to feel how, oh crap, this isn't going to happen now, you know? So plan for it. Say, this is, you know, if I'm going to shoot for one person a week, that means I need to be talking to more than just one person a week. Early on, in the very beginning, when I first started hitting Success Club, my upline would ask me, okay, what are you doing to hit Success Club this month? And I would say, I'm talking to these 3 girls. And two of them I know for sure they're going to order. They said when they get their paycheck, they're going to, you know, all this stuff. And she's like, you're talking to 3 people, like total, and you think all 3 of them are going to order? You know, like that would be like 3 for 3. Like, no, that never happens. It took some learning for me to figure out, like, if I need 3 people, I need to be talking to like 30 people. So.
And to build that group of people that you're talking to, did you do like hashtag searches or subject searches, or they were just people that you knew at that point?
Yeah, I think for me, and I'll be honest, like I know there are people out there that are like, don't scroll Facebook, it's a waste of time. We are all going to scroll it at some point during the day. When I scroll, I notice I've started to have sort of a sense, I guess, of who I need to either get to know better or who might seem like they'd be my friend outside of social media. There's a girl that I'm thinking about right now that I need to reach out to because she's been on my mind for a few days. She's been hashtagging, which I didn't find her from hashtags, but she has been hashtagging on her Facebook about paleo and Whole30. And she's sort of into like holistic wellness. And I went to college with her husband. And so most likely what I'll do is I'll reach out and be like, I feel like we're best friends and we just don't know it. We just don't know each other that well yet. And I just wanted to reach out and, you know, say, do you have any recipes that I might like or something? Like I'll start a conversation with her and then I'll feel it out. And so for me, it's not necessarily just people who post about fitness or holistic wellness. It's sometimes there's a girl that's in the military who posted the other day something about all the stuff going on with the bombing. And she posted about like, I hope my friends are okay, whatever. So I started a conversation with her. I've seen her post other things. Like I like the way she talks on social media. I think she's funny. So people that you think are funny, people that you think would be your friend in real life, are great people to just start conversations with, even if it never leads to an invitation, even if it never leads to a sale. It gets you practicing conversations. It gets you, you know, asking questions and engaging with people. And it also boosts the algorithm for you. The more people that you're chatting with through direct messenger, the more likely they are to then see your content when you post it. So yeah. But yeah, hashtag, I mean, I'm the wrong person to ask about hashtags because Instagram is not necessarily my jam. But on Facebook, I scroll until I see somebody that makes me laugh. Like if I click an emoji on their post, that means I would have laughed at them in real life, you know, or I would have been like, oh, in real life, whatever the equivalent of emojis are in real life, I would have given that expression. And so therefore I feel like we should have a conversation. It's easier for me to talk to them.
Recently, instead of just doing the like haha or love thing on a post, I've been trying to actually say like, oh yeah, that's so funny, and then post something else or a GIF or something like that rather than just liking it and keep scrolling.
Yeah. For sure.
So when you're talking about like your newsletter and stuff like that, and I know you've been doing this for 10 years, so you probably have a very substantial list. For me, I don't have a huge list. You know, I just like kind of reached the over 100 mark, not like a while back. So I can't necessarily guarantee anything from that small of a group. Do you have suggestions on ways outside of just adding the challengers that you have to your newsletter to increase that at a quicker pace?
For growing it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think for me, the way that it grew was from customer acquisition that I had through my social. So I think my social media, my Facebook drove my sales. And then those people got plugged into my email list. And then my customer leads got plugged into my email list, right? And stuff like that. So that's how it worked for me. But I also know that like Shalene and Pat Flynn and several others endorse, starting with the email list and growing your email list. The first recommendation that I would make is to listen to any relevant podcasts on the topic. Like I said, Shalene Johnson has a couple podcasts on email marketing, and Pat Flynn is sort of like a master with this. He's got the Smart Passive Income podcast. But for me personally, like I know that the most shareable content that I share or that I give out is usually my recipes. So what I'll do is I'll post or I'll send out a recipe. And it's funny because this guy that used to be my, physical therapist when I had my neck surgeries and stuff, he was my physical therapist. I forgot he was even on my email list, and he emailed me in December and he was like, "This was the best soup ever." And all he did was respond to my newsletter where I had like a soup recipe. And then I wrote him back and I started a conversation. I was like, "Oh, hey Louie, how are you? Thanks. I love this soup myself, blah, blah, blah." And he wrote back and he's like, "I sent this to everybody in my family." Cause he goes, "We had like a pitch-in or like some sort of like soup cook-off something or other for the holidays, and everybody loved the soup." So then he sent my newsletter with the recipe to like his family members. Right. So, I think figuring out like what it is, and probably for you, it might be recipes, right? Like whatever it is for you that is true to your brand, foodie things or holistic remedies for soy or whatever you decide that is part of your brand. Though that's what I would send out because that'll be shareable, easily shareable. People can forward it to people that they might know that are interested in that sort of thing. But otherwise I would that's how I start out. 100 people is awesome. Like I started out with literally my mom, Chris, my brother, my aunt, like a couple neighbors. I remember I even got an email from a neighbor after my first newsletter, and she's like, "I didn't opt into this." Like she was pissed off. Like I just plugged her in there. So, I mean, I started off super small with my email list, and it was probably 2012 when I started it. And then I think I'm at like 1,900 subscribers on my email list, but then it's funny because I have even more subscribers to our coach newsletter list. It's funny because as my business has grown, my personal sales email newsletter has sort of become smaller than our team, right? Because our team has grown and our team there have been multiple coaches at some point on our team and they're all on the newsletter list. So, stick with it. Talk about it on your social media, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't hurt I was just thinking today, I need to post and say like, "Hey, does anybody want access to my newsletter? If so, send me your email." Oh, and then the thing that I probably should have mentioned is when you decide, I don't know what your decision is on your like freemium or your whatever you decide to do, whether you're selling it or giving it away, or if you have something for each of those for free or for pay or whatever, you'll collect an email address in return. Right. So especially like if you give something away for free, you're not giving it for free. You're giving it in exchange for their email address. And then their email address will go into your email list.
And there's a way to figure out how to set that up so that I could just Google setting up a freemium and how to set that up so that I get an email call.
What is it? So, okay. So if it's going to be for free, I mean, there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could either do it like the old school way, which is like a Google form, right? Where you just have people submit their email and then you have, you check it every day or every week or something. And then you email them the free, whatever it is, PDF or whatever. Or you could, I think Shopify has the free capability of having like a landing page for something free. I know for sure that's what they do as far as e-commerce. Like they will let you pay for something there, but I'm pretty sure they have a template or something you can use for like a free exchange of services with just collecting an email address. Yeah. But to me, that's like the winner chicken dinner, because it's like, hey, I'm going to give you this free recipe book or this free, whatever, baby food guide or whatever it is you do. and people will give you their email address in exchange for something free, for sure. Yeah. Anything else?
Sarah, have you followed Jenna Kutcher at all? She has a course, like a free 5-day course on growing your email list. I just listened to one of her podcasts, so I have it in my email. I haven't done it yet. But she's got a ton of resources. If you just go to jennakutcher.com and then just Google Jenna Kutcher grow your email list, and you'll link to it. And I think she does a lot with her premium stuff too. So I haven't done it yet, but she's got some really good blogs on it. And then I did just sign up for that course this week.
Yeah, and Amy Porterfield, she's an expert with email marketing. I'm looking at my podcast.
Yeah, the two of them work together a lot.
Yeah, I thought I remember
she's involved in this one too. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so it is, what is today? Today's the 19th? Is today the 19th? Yeah, today is the 19th of January. That means we have 12 days, soon to be 11 days left in the month of January. So I encourage you to sort of assess where you are with your personal sales goals this month. My original plan for tonight, honestly, was to go over an assessment or an overview of different rank advancements, right? I wanted to talk about like what Emerald looks like, what Diamond looks like, what Star Diamond looks like as far as activities go. But then I reevaluated and I was like, no, everything starts with personal sales. So let's cover this first. And then as we become masters of this, we can sort of continue that, right? We can continue the conversation. Really though, if we look ahead, we're thinking like, make this a strategy. Make this a strategy so that when it becomes a consistent habit of yours, when Success Club or Help 5 or Help 10 becomes consistent for you, after 3 or 4 or 6 months of that, right, then you get into this sort of awesome rhythm where you're having lots of conversations. You're consistently filling your pipeline. You're creating that brand and that sense of trust. That's the point where then your strategies can sort of shift, right? You can sort of up your goals. You look at that 30-day month ahead of you, and instead of saying I'm helping 1 per week, you say, no, I'm going to help all 3 or all 5 in the first week. So that the rest of my month, I can put into recruiting coaches to my team, so that I can put into creating an onboarding system for my new coaches, right? You can start to really allocate your time more to leadership and building your team, because your personal sales goals now are just, they're happening. They're rhythmic and they're consistent and they're happening every single month. And that's my goal for you guys. That's where we want to be. Okay, so make this your focus. I know last week we talked about vision. We talked about your individual goals for the year. Take a look at them again when we hang up. Look at what you wrote down last week when it comes to Beachbody goals. I know we talked about all the different wheels of life areas, but when it comes to Beachbody goals, look at it and say, okay, if this is my goal for this year, what do I need to do in mastering my personal sales that's gonna lead me to that? What can I do that's in my control, right? What are the actions that you can do? And then those actions get plugged into your planner. There's me with the planner again. I'm going to start a network marketing company for planners. Okay. All right, you guys. So next week we're either going to dive into a little bit more of that branding workshop, or we might talk a little bit more about rank advancement and what that looks like and building a team. I haven't decided where we're going to go yet, but next week, same time, same place. Have a good night.